Welcome to SVG-TV News for Friday, October 3rd, 2014. I'm Jenny Prince with the details. Let justice prevail, so says the head of the Criminal Investigation Department, ASP Sidney James, about the interference from some persons in legal matters as it relates to sexual intercourse with minors. During an interview with SVG-TV News, ASP James says that though sex with minors is not occurring at an alarming rate in this country, the cases only a few cases end up in court, and this, he said, is due to interferences from parents and other persons for various reasons. James states that in 2012 there were a total of 39 reported cases with girls under the age of 15. However, only 26 arrests were made, while in 2013 38 cases were reported, with only 20 of these cases going before the court. James noted that there are very serious legal repercussions for men who engage in sexual activities with minors. He added that the men who are generally involved in this sort of behavior are generally in the age group 20 to 45.
I want the men out there to understand that according to the laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, any man who has sexual intercourse with a girl under the age of 13 is guilty of an offense and liable to imprisonment for life.
ASP James says the success rate of arresting perpetrators of these crimes is very commendable. However, parents or guardians often prevent the law from dealing with these men to the fullest extent because of bribes or because they're afraid of public scrutiny.
Well, we are basically successful thus far, with only a few minor hitches where parents refuses to allow the children to come and to give the evidence for fear of reprisal. And also, some parents might say, well, the parents may cooperate with us so that because they're interested in seeing justice for the children. Whereas other parents sometimes don't want the children to come to go before the court to experience the rigors of the court. Sometimes they even say, man, the children are actually lying on the person, especially if the person is someone from the home or the boyfriend. They might say, well, the child is lying on the boyfriend, basically because he's the sole breadwinner of the family, and they don't want that line to be cut. Because say if the person go to jail, what will become of them financially?
ASP James is urging women who are sexually abused as children to come forward and let the law deal with their abusers. According to ASP James, there is no limit nor time period stamped to sexual crimes.
My advice to young girls out there who may have been victims of sexual abuse, sexual assaults in the early stages of their life. Some men normally use threats to tell them to keep a secret, or else they will kill them. If they feel right now, that they were abused in the early age, they can still come forward to the police and say what happened to them now that they've grown and then realize that it was a wrong perpetrated on them. The matters can still be investigated from the police standpoint.
Representatives of international agricultural organizations such as ICA and the FAO have expressed satisfaction with the progress made on a rehabilitation project for 3 river systems here. That's following the December rains of 2013. The project, which is funded by Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, through the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, ICA, at a cost of $220,000, got underway in April of this year. It has as its main target the cleanup of the Vermont River System, the Cumberland River System, and the Richmond River System. Recently, a delegation comprising members of the Ministry of Agriculture and the Forestry, ICA, and the FAO visited the 3 river systems. Technical specialist for the ICA in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Michael Dalton, disclosed that there are currently 35 workers engaged in the cleanup activities, which include the cutting up and removal of logs in these rivers in order to prevent or minimize the possibilities of future blockage of the river systems.
An 8-month program, and it aims to do this cleanup activity utilizing local labor from the 3 communities. So there is an element within the program as well for the employment of local labor, which would provide an opportunity to put some money into the local communities in an effort to aid the recovery effort in those communities that were severely affected by the storm in December.
According to Dalton, the project has been ongoing for 41 days and substantial work has been done.
We have cleared essentially 2 kilometers in the Richmond River. Similarly, we have done around 2 kilometers in the Hermitage River and just under 1 kilometer in the Vermont River. We have to move on now to the stabilization of the river banks, which would extend again over the same period of time, 5 to 8 months, and along a similar linear measurement of about 12 kilometers or so.
In addition to the cleanup of the river systems, the project will also focus on slope stabilization activities. Dalton said that there is already 8 acres targeted in various areas throughout the country.
For example, we would have noticed in this particular field tour the actions being taken place at Belle Isle for the stabilization of the slope immediately below the prison farms. This is an important activity for us which we intend to continue. Also, we want to do about 8 kilometers or so of forest roads in Hermitage and in other areas within the affected communities. These are an important part of the infrastructure within the forest, and we have to ensure that these roads are rehabilitated as part of this exercise. There is some $220,000 that is actually dedicated to this activity, and most of it will go directly towards the activities within the communities, with very minimal amounts actually for the administrative component of the project.
Meanwhile, a ECA representative in the Eastern Caribbean states, John King, said that he is pleased with the progress made thus far by the local team since implementation of the project 5 months ago. John disclosed they are to continue the project and to help the country in mitigating the disasters, especially the low-level troughs.
Based on what I saw and the project implementation, the timeline, we already implemented 41 days. We already working 41 days, and we cleaned up about 5 kilometers of riverbanks. It is manually done, and I'm really satisfied in what I observe.
And the Regional Forestry Officer for the FAO, Claus Eckelman, said that his organization was pleased to be associated with the initiative and commended the local team for the job done so far.
When I came first here and I saw the results of the Christmas floods, the whole river valley you see behind us was filled with logs and debris. These logs posed a serious threat for the people living downstream the valley and downstream the river, because the following flood would take up these logs, float them towards the sea, and they would clog up the bridges, and when clogging up the bridges, then it would lead to further flooding of the villages and houses which are alongside the river. To avoid that, something had to be done. So the idea was to cut up the logs, clean up the riverbeds, and to avoid that these logs could become a threat to the road and to the infrastructure and to the houses where people were living.
Park Ranger Rasto Robinson says the December 2013 floods caused significant damage to the Darkview Falls, and while they have been able to get some work done on it with the help of several persons and other organizations, there's a lot more that needs to be done.
We are still unable to rebuild our timber bridge. However, the good news is that we are getting some assistance through a project from UNDP to help deal with that situation. We are replanting trees, we are putting in quite a few plants otherwise, but our major challenge is the 3 pools just behind me here, behind the visiting platform, the viewing platform. Our 3 pools are still, some people say silt up. I can't say silt up because they are huge rocks, and we definitely need to have heavy equipment brought in to clean these pools. We are not sure how soon we'll be able to do that. However, there's ongoing discussion, ongoing negotiations to have this done, and we really appreciate all the efforts coming from the ministries, BRAXA, everybody who have chipped in to make this most interesting cleanup. So far we are about 80% through. We are very grateful for all the assistance, as I would said, and we are looking forward to continued assistance.
After a long wait, the top contenders for the Vinci Mas 2014 were presented last evening with their winnings at a ceremony hosted by the Carnival Development Corporation at the Murray Heights Hotel in Kingstown. The prize-giving ceremony officially brought the 2014 Carnival season to a close. 2014 also marks SVG's 135th Carnival event, which commenced in 1879. Chairman of the CDC, Dennis Ambrose, says while persons anticipated that this year's prize-giving ceremony would have been held at an earlier date, the CDC experienced two main hitches.
First and foremost, we had to consolidate our finances from multiple outstanding sources before we could move forward. These are monies which are committed to the CDC by contractual agreements. They were overdue and needed. And just to put that into context, you need to realize that this exercise is one that is in excess of $650,000, a significant sum by any standard. Secondly, in spite of all our efforts to have the trophies delivered on time, there was a delay in the shipment. This resulted in having to defer the proceedings until today. We thank you for your patience and we appreciate you taking time to come to this occasion.
Meanwhile, reigning power on the Rasto Monarch and the first and second place holder of the 2014 Road March competition, Delroy Fireman Hooper, last evening walked away with keys to a brand new car, compliments the CDC for the historical clean sweep of most of the major titles of Vinci Mas 2014.
This year brought it a number of firsts with the magnificent capture of the crown of Raga Soca and Soca Monarch, and the titles of first and second place in the Road March by Fireman Hooper. This is indeed a remarkable achievement by a single individual, having attained so many accolades. In addition to his cash prize and trophies, the CDC will reward him with a brand new sedan-type Nissan Versa vehicles. And if you doubt me, here it is. It's back out there. So Fireman Hooper is waiting to be collected. We would like to think that this will serve as an incentive for our young upcoming artists to realize that they too can make such giant strides.
And the CDC anticipates 2015 Vinci Mas to be bigger than ever. Chairman of the CDC, Dennis Ambrose, says with the Argyle International Airport scheduled to be operational next year, Vinci Mas will be among the first to capitalize on the country's new national treasure.
As a country, we have waited, wished, pleaded, prayed for our own direct access to our country. And the time is here. The time is now. And like many other Vincentians, I can say, like the late Martin Luther King Jr. said, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. From being frustrated and left in other in-transit countries, when we and our visitors are eagerly and desperately trying to get here for Vinci Mas. We are looking forward to 2015. I believe that Vinci Mas is going to be hotter than ever. Some titles are there to be reclaimed. So watch out for every competitor being better than their best.
Meanwhile, this country's Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture, Cecil Mackey, says it is extremely important that the CDC looks at a few realities in the future. Mackey says with an increase in the number of different nationalities here, the CDC must skillfully plan to benefit from this development.
We now have 4 medical colleges, 700 students. In January, we will have the teaching of English here. We would have 200 Ecuadorians coming to our shows. The Chileans and the Venezuelans have also expressed an interest in coming to our shows to learn in English. By September next year, we would have doubled those numbers. With the coming of the international airport, we would have persons being afforded cheaper and easier access to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In other words, we would have, and the CDC would be challenged to cater for these various nationalities and respond by continuing to be innovative with the programs and the packages that we put on each year.
The First Georgetown Guides Company, along with the Brownies, yesterday hosted a march and rally to bring awareness to blindness. The event forms part of activities of Sight Awareness, Sight Awareness Month, being observed by the groups under the theme No More Avoidable Blindness. At the rally held at the Georgetown Secondary School, it was pointed out that there are 39 million people in the world who are blind, and some of these cases could have been avoided. Featured speaker Dr. Kenneth Uno, who is an eye specialist, told the students 90% of the people who are blind live in developing countries such as St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He, however, pointed out that there are many things that can be done to prevent blindness.
As a young person, you should have your eyes tested at least every 2 years. Okay? So we are going to have to remedy that soon. And you know, the other thing that we have to talk about is that you're all out in the sun. Do you protect your eyes from the sun? Well, I mean, at school, I guess you have to do what you have to do. But when you're outside in the bright sun at home, you wear hats to cover your eyes, to cover to keep a shadow on your eyes. No. I like to recommend hats are very, very good. And even sunglasses are good. Now, let me tell you something. 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, but more like 10 years ago, children never needed glasses as much as they need glasses today. And it's amazing and alarming that because of the use of computers, smartphones, and all kinds of monitors, our eyes have gotten worse. Now, you have to remember that the eyes were not made for smartphones, the eyes were not made for television or for laptops, so that sometimes we overextend ourselves.
At the rally, two persons shared their experiences with the students on how they function with blindness.
Thanks to today, where there are technologies and other things that even though you are visually impaired, you can still be part of society. Even though I am blind, I am still able to be married, have a daughter, and be a teacher of the visually impaired at special needs in Georgetown. Send me to Trinidad, and now I can use the computer. And as I normally say, I am using it better than any one of you who have your site out there. Because most of the time, you think of going on Facebook and doing other things. But I can use it to type any letter. I can use it to do any research. Right about now, to be honest, when I want to do my lesson plan, I go on the computer and I research. And I have ideas how to put across the lesson plans. So, yes, being blind, sometimes it can be very sad. But you don't have to remain. Even though you are blind, you can be determined to help yourself.
If you won't take your eyes today, you will wind up like me tomorrow. And trust me, that very one comfortable state of life, you don't want to come like me. I'm an artist, craft producer. I can't produce the craft that I would love to produce today because of my glaucoma. So I'm begging you, please take care of your eyes. Eat properly, take your vitamins, exercise, and check your eyes as often as you possibly can. You don't want to come like me.